Hello everyone, welcome to another Random Flow GNode edition update video. So I can now show you the modifier setup, and this is what I have for now for the random panel emulation. And we have the panels which creates the panel detail patterns. So the panel GNode modifier right here, and Uh, after that is the offset, which deals with the inset depth, much like random panels, and also the scaling of those panel islands. And there's also a bit of a twist with the extra offset settings. Um, I have emulated or copied some of the settings from random panels. We have the cut method here, which is the wrap uh, and the split. The wrap has its own problems for now, as it can't really offset the inset depth or extrusion evenly. So the most optimal version or option for now is the split method. We also have the clear faces, which is also from random panels. So basically, gives you these lines with the inner option, and the outer is just the faces. So much like random panels. And we also have the random smoothing for the panel islands. We also have shade smooth, and you can increase and decrease the percentage here. Uh, I should probably change this. Probability is should change the percentage, mesh percentage. So random shading right there, which you can also randomize with the seed number here. And we have the extra offset. We have the offset settings here. The first offset settings, which controls the inset depth of the panel islands. And we have an extra offset, which, as you can see right there, creates those uh, winglets. So basically, it from the panel islands, we extrude that, and then from the faces, from the extrusion or the offset, we offset those faces again to create this shape, these wing shapes, kind of cool looking antennas, which is really cool for ships, spaceships, because especially if you create some really long and thin or small faces where those small extrusions can happen and create this effect right here. Um, so this is the base mesh, just to show you that this is really GeoNode, and this is the effects of the um, when the add-on is made or created. You can view the effect in edit mode, but you need to see you can see the wireframe. So you need to see the wireframe in order to change the effects of the panel detail. So with the add-on, you're not going to see the effect initially, but you can turn this on yourself. But initially, the add-on will have this deactivated, so you can, of course, change the topology. You can see the wireframe and change the topology by adding edge cuts, therefore affecting the way that the randomization can happen. So as you can see here, for example here, if I delete this edges, you can see that we are getting some really long panel islands because there's no lateral edges going this way. So if we create those edges, the pattern, instead of just going to these faces, will actually go right here and there and there, here. So it's really good. and you can just keep adding those extra edges to create more randomization in those areas, for example, right here. So more details if you keep adding those edge cuts in those in a particular area. So let's go back to the panels. So we have the main subdivision, and we have layer 1 and layer 2 subdivision. So the universal subdivision for the mesh here, you know, and we have layer 1 subdivision and layer 2 subdivision. And you can play around with, so for example, we have layer 1 as 2 subdivision. So blending, the closer you get with to 50%, it means that there's an even distribution of layer 1, layer 2. But the closer you get to 0, or somewhere around the middle of 0 and 25, 0 and 50, means that you're going by way of layer 1 mostly, and 50 plus to 100 is going by way of layer 2. Okay, so their subdivision is coming from the main subdivision. So for example, you're using subdivision level 1. From that subdivision, you're going to have the have that doubled with layer 1, and or tripled in this case because we're using of two subdivision, and layer 1 is one as doubled using just one subdivision. So this is soft capped at 4. It can go higher than this, but you have to manually enter the number. But if you can see that at subdivision level 4, you can see on this part here that we're already using too much faces. So just be careful, especially with the main subdivision. So do not use like 4 here and then 4 here. So you need to balance these things. As you can see, we're already having too much resolution just with main subdivision level 4. Okay, so 805. There we go. So something like level 2 or level 1. Okay. So we just level 1 at main subdivision, and layer 1, main sub yeah, layer 1 and layer 2 is 0. We can already get just enough details for this ship to work with. And also you can see that the wireframe is displaying quads. The result, if you apply these modifiers, the result will be quads. So there's no ingons happening. That means that you can further edit the mesh and add your extra details manually, because and easier because we have the quad topology. So let me just turn off edge mode. Okay, so blend and balance. Balance is also operates at 0.5. You get like um, more jagged details, and with 0 or going to 1, you get less jagged details. So the meaning that the sides of the panel islands can generate something like this, like the staircase pattern. So at 0.5, um, 0.5 to 0.4 or 0.5 to 0.6, you get more like this in some situation, but going to lower, like 1 to 0, 0.1 to 0, or 0.9 to 1 to 1, this gets more and more. This jagged pattern gets less and less, or yeah, smaller. So you get more relaxed pattern. But of course, it still depends with the overall subdivision that you're using and also the blend type. And you can also use the control the pattern using the random seed value right here. So it should wait, thing like this, and the balance. So you need to play around with the subdivision, and less subdivision means less detail, and more subdivision means more detail, especially with the main subdivision. That and we also have another way to control the detail. So, for example, we're going back to main subdivision level one. We can also control how much of the faces are being extruded or being used for the extrusion, and also if they're not being used for extrusion, they are going to be removed from the ship. Therefore, we can and also expose the base mesh underneath, so we get like more relaxed areas because the extrusions are being erased so far. So this is zero. No, you can see that we only have the base mesh. No faces of the panel islands have made it because we have the offset faces percentage is zero. But as we increase it, we get more faces from the panel randomization. And also control its distribution using the random seed um, property here. So this is another way of controlling the resolution. There's still a chance to make this simpler, but for now, these controls are relative to the way that the details are being made or controlled. So these are this little wings or this really strong protrusions are being made by the extra offset, so we can control it here. And of course, this is relative to the, I think this is good, to the amount of details that put in using the subdivision. You can play around with this using the random seed. You have 100% offset or just 20 offset for control detail. So you have less detail like this. So for example, if you want to render it at faraway ranges, you can just forego the overall detail by turning off the display here and also the render. So you only get the base mesh for the object. If it's really that far away, you don't need that detail. You only need the shape. So if it's closer, you can turn on the uh, details and then just increase the just control the the distribution of the detail using the subdivisions, the settings in the panel modifier, GeoNob modifier, and the offset GeoNob modifier. And also, if you want the shapes to really break apart the overall shape of the source mesh or the base mesh, especially in this in mid ranges like this. You can just uh, increase the offset. So at closer ranges, you can see that everything's kind of messed up, wrecked. But just for the sake of really enhancing the shape of the model at this distance, since the viewer can't really tell what's happening in the mesh, you can just uh, really pump up the offset. So if it's closer, you need to get uh, more careful with your settings, and of course really control um, the detail to make it believable with the for the audience or the viewer, not the audience. And as you can see here, you can see the jagged pattern that I'm talking about. So as you get closer to 0, it disappears, or go closer to 1. So blend and balance are all their extreme points are in the middle. So blend is at 50%, the extreme point is at 50%, and it tapers off going lower than that or higher. And it's the same with balance. The extreme point is zero point 0.5 and it tapers off at, excuse me, zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.1 going to 0 or going up to 1. So less subdivision because less of that detail. So we can get more. So for example, layer 1 is subdivision level 3. So at we get more of that at like 50 to 40%. And going up, we get more of the layer 2 subdivision. And then at 100%, we get more of the actual main subdivision or the source mesh. But at 50 to 60% or higher, we get layer 2. So more of layer 2 at 50 to 60 and more of layer 1 at 50 to 40. Okay, I hope it's not confusing, but that's just the way the random node works in GeoNode. It's kind of strange, but the extreme point of the node is at the center. Okay. So with this, we can just play around with the. You can add and subtract edge point. Oh, this is good. Edge loops. Add more detail to a particular side of the object. So you can actually remove this and get a more relaxed area from that part by removing um, certain edge loops. Let's just we can maintain the pattern of the panels and just play around with the offset using the uh, the seed of the offset here. There we go. So different shapes every time, and it is modular. So the only advantage of this from the original random flow is that it is modular. After using this for a few weeks, and then if you go back to the random flow original, you might find that it is actually faster. There's no modularity in that add-on, but if you become more experienced as a 3D artist, much like in Photoshop, if you become more experienced, you get to use less and less layers because you don't have to go back. You are sure about what you've done. You don't need modularity to go back. So that's I think if you become more mature with the um, with this profession, the less useful modularity becomes to you. But still, it is quite enjoyable to use, of course. As you can see here, that it's very convenient. You can just duplicate this and then just change the seed value for this copy, and then we get another chip. Change the settings, and we get another chip, just like that. We can just delete these spaces. We create another chip. So this is the snub nosed version. Let's just delete this so we can easily affect the shape, and then you can just reestablish the edge loop after edge loop. Create some more faces in that area, face in that area. Get a more relaxed uh, distribution of the detail there by destroying removing the edge loop and adding edge loop here and here to get more details. Okay, and playing around with the settings. And there's still a few problems, especially with the symmetry line. As you can see, the symmetry line is visible. With random flow, you can just use the clipping to get rid of that, and it also gets rid of the face in that area. So let me just show you what I mean about the clipping. And this happens with symmetry. Let's use random panels, inset. Okay, so with this one, you can see the panel cut boundary in the symmetry line. And when we use mirror to merge them together, here we go. They are merged, but the faces that are merged have remained in the symmetry line, like this one here. This needs to be removed. Okay. So with Python, it's quite easy to do that. Oops, like this. Those are my debug meshes. So I can modify the nodes. So with Python, it's quite easy to do. And random panels, inset, and clipping, increase distance. And when you see here, there's no get rid of the cube. And when you see here, those faces are gone. So it's easy to do that with Python, and with G nodes, not so much. I'm trying to, in order to reference the faces in the symmetry line, it's kind of hard. I can't get it to work yet. So we can merge it. You can see the center. You can merge it using this. But the faces that I've shown you before remains. and it's quite evident because of the shader that we're using. The ground shader has a bevel node. It kind of shows up. So utility shading bevel node. If we change this to 0, maybe it will disappear. There we go. But we lost the bevel. You get the sharp edges, but the faces in the symmetry line becomes invisible. That's the the only advantage for that of that. Oops. So 0.005. There we go. So you can see that the those faces are still there. So that's a bit of a problem that I'm trying to solve right now. So most of the problems I've solved, the only ones that are left are that and the uneven offset using the wrap cut method. But as far as the other things like the patterns, the inset depth, the offset, some of the offset, they're all um, so so individual also a bit scaled up. Individual scaled up. There we go. If we disable, oh, so this is the scaling using the top faces, and this is with the sides. You get kind of margin effect, so you get this kind of detail instead, and you can push this like that, or just skewer the mesh by using a large value and get this kind of detail. Then we can probably get rid of the faces and get this, or the side faces and get that the kind of detailing, which is really good for creating really some kind of a lighter version of the mesh, but still you have those details which you can overpaint. You can use to overpaint and create those tertiary details using painting methods. It's the subdivision level 2. There we go, more faces. And you get this really cool looking effect. So there are a bunch of detailing methods. I just changing the properties. So we can also let's turn this back to 1, and let's use the line, and then offset min and offset max. We'll need to give them the same value, so you get this kind of detail. So just this kind of lines in the mesh, kind of cartoony effect, but the you can see the symmetry line face is still there. Need to get rid of that. How to get rid of that though? This is kind of hard. So I figured this out. At first, I was trying to copy the Python to JNode. What I realized is it's impossible to do that. You need to just use GNode as its own programming language and stop. So that's what I did. I stopped trying to make it into Python, and then I figured it out. Split is why are we? Oh, the scaling we need to. There we go. You can just really skewer the really use the higher amount or skewer the mesh, mess around with the settings. to get some really weird shapes. And as you can see, it still works. Still works. Okay, let's try it with the other one. This one right here. So we have outer, and let's scale the sides, not the top, and play around with this offset and scale like that. So we get this really awesome effect, and let's just the detail we're getting. And randomize the seed value. Get this really weird shape, really spiky spaceship. So kind of it's weird, but it works, and you don't have to stay with a vanilla design of just a standard panel around the panels and then extrusions. You can also use this. And this is the shape. I wonder if we can just see I think we can just use something flat or this one in order to see just the profile. I think we should use flat, and the color is single, and we're going to use black. There we go. So this is it's quite interesting. This is what the eye sees before it processes what's inside and out, before it processes the negative and the positive space. You can see it's really interesting. The shapes are really interesting. Okay, let's go back to. I wonder if we can turn this to default. Nope, option for that. So we can just set this to 1, scale top, and set this back to none. Okay, also this one. Set declare faces to none and set this back to scale top and set the scale to 1. And play around with the offset. Use lesser subdivision for the 0.05 here to get less detail. And for this one, subdivision level 2, there's too much detail. I think yeah. This is this is actually another mesh. I don't know why it's. Okay, let's delete that. Wonder where it, I was wondering where it went. So subdivision level 2, and this is the total number of using 100% of the offset faces. You can reduce the detail using this also and get more relaxed areas and control the offset. Okay. so you can really control the amount of detail that you're getting. And with the add-on, it will make it easier for you to modify the settings without actually using the modifier stack. You can just operate in full screen mode and use menu to operate this um, settings. And the advantage of this is that it's modular, of course. With random flow, once you have the original, once you have once the current operation is overlapped, then it's gone. You can't change the settings anymore. With this, you can change the settings, but it's not as flexible as random flow. Random flow original is direct. GNode version is not so direct because it's modular. So there are some downsides, and also one of the downside is that you can't really isolate this on a bunch of selected faces. There's no way to actually set this to work on just this selection. You need to assign a material to this, then reference that material with JNode, and then you can filter its effect only in this part by assigning a material to this, which is that is annoying. I'm not gonna use that. What I'm going to use instead is face extraction. We can extract this face from the source mesh and let it only affect that. And I will parent this mesh to the source mesh. So when you scale the source mesh, you will scale the separated mesh also because they're parented. The only downside is with in edit mode, if you scale the parent, the child will not be affected. So you also need to select the child if you're editing in edit mode, and then the parent and everything connected to them. Then go in edit mode and do your scaling and adding of stuff there. If you need to extrude on the separated part, then you have to join the mesh again using Control J in object mode, and then just using the add-on again to separate the isolated part. So that's the way I'm gonna do it. I think it's much faster than just and less confusing than using materials. Trust me, I've seen what the node setup is for the materials, and it's kind of confusing. So we're just going to do the separated faces method and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then I can just change that. Okay, seed value. Too much to go. So number three. It's too much detail, but we can still control that using balance, really small balance. So there's a whole lot of control for controlling the detail. You can use this and the offset faces. Really cool. And also this works in I made it work on organic surfaces as well, like spheres and cylinders. So I've also solved that problem of the JNode setup. So it can now work with organic surfaces. No more problem with us in those areas. Okay, so I'm gonna end it here. So I've separated the panel and the offset just to make it more um, just to have this in the UI. You can close the panel and the offset with offset in the panel. You can really manage the length of the modifiers. You can just, so with this, with them separated, you can close offset and panel individually. So I've separated them both. Okay. So that's it for the this update for the random flow Geonode edition. I'm going to turn this into an add-on in a few days, and the release is going to be beta version. There's still a lot of things that need to be added here, but you can support the tool if you want from the stores. So yeah. Also, if you're buying my add-ons and all other developers add-on, be sure to research which stores they are selling the product, because if you buy it from other stores, they won't be getting any of the money. The one that's going to get the money is the one that created the store. So I don't know if they're affiliates, but I think from what I've seen from those sites, they're not really affiliates. They're, yeah. I don't think they're affiliates. Okay. So as for me, I only sell my products in Gumroad and Blender Market. Okay, and no other sites. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this video. If you have any comments, use the comment section or the links in the description. If you're using the original random flow, and the original random flow is still legit, okay, I think it's still the most powerful version out of the two if this comes out. The only advantage of this is it's quite fun because of the modularity, but you're stuck with really base meshes. Whereas with random flow, you can isolate the detail and work on it even using high-res meshes. There's a bunch of tools that will let you do that for that particular reason. But for this, you need to really watch out. It's really fun, but you need to really watch out for the resolution of your basement. Okay, so yeah, subscribe and hit notify. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.